Happy Friday, everyone. We're going to be talking about how to live to be 200 today.
Hi,
Hey,
Ricardo.
Sergey. Hey, how you
Hello, how
doing?
are you? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. I know you're super busy and you're traveling everywhere. And anyway, really appreciate you spending the time with us.
We'll always find time to spread the good news from the world of longevity and human health, right?
Love that. Love that. I'm going to do a brief intro about you just while everyone's logging on. We are very lucky today to be talking with Sergey Young. For those of you who don't know who he is, he's an internationally recognized longevity expert, investor, and visionary. He's on a mission to extend the lifespan of 1 billion people. So we're going to hear all about that today. To do that, Sergey founded the Longevity Vision Fund to accelerate the extension of technological breakthroughs and to make longevity affordable for everyone. Sergey is on the board of directors of the American Federation of Aging Research and is a co-sponsor of the Age Reversal X Prize design. Once launched, X Prize aims to dramatically delay the biological aging process through widely available interventions that extend human life and health span. Sergey has been featured on CNN, BBC, Fox News, and Forbes, and he's here today to discuss his amazing new book, which just got released, and it's already one of the best sellers. It's called The Science and Technology of Growing Young. So, Sergey, thank you so much for joining us. We are really, really excited to talk to you today.
Hi, everyone. I'm very excited to be here with you today, and thanks for everything you're doing, Ricardo.
Uh, Wonderful. So let's just start with a little background. How did you first become interested in longevity? You were so successful in terms of finances,
Yeah.
and you kind of pivoted and you switched your career. Tell us a little bit about how that happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think you've seen a lot of cases like this, Ricardo, from your practice. The unfortunate reality, almost all of us need to have like a wake-up call to develop an interest in longevity and health. So for me, literally, it was lung cancer of my father back in 2005. He survived, but the quality of his life has never recovered. And the second piece was my extremely high cholesterol level back in 2014 that I discovered just occasionally doing like a blood test. And I haven't done it for a few years. And I thought, well, I should fight. And I've discovered so many great things on this longevity journey, and I started to share with friends and other people.
That's amazing. And then you started the Longevity Vision Fund. Tell us a little bit about what the mission is of that fund.
Yeah, so the mission of LVF and my mission as well is to change as many lives as possible. And I do believe what we have today in terms of technological breakthroughs and scientific discoveries give us an opportunity to bring completely different version of medicine and healthcare to this world. Much more affordable, much more accessible, data-driven, technology-based. So all we're doing, we're supporting scientists and entrepreneurs who are building this new digital version of medicine. And I'm so delighted. Like almost every second company that we're investing in, it's bringing a radical change in solving particular problem or particular intervention, like ultrasound devices, which would cost 20 to 30 times less than today's alternative, or liver organ regeneration technologies for the liver, which will cost at least 10 to 20 times less than today's alternative, which is liver transplantation. So it's just more and more things like this coming. But again, the most amazing thing is the whole decrease of the cost with the same or better efficiency, which we can achieve. And again, it's not percent, it's times against the current practice.
Mhm. Now, how does the X Prize Foundation fit into that? Because I know you're very involved in that as well.
Yeah.
What is the mission of X Prize Foundation?
So X Prize Foundation is kind of pro bono thing. So it's nonprofit foundation set up in California, in Culver City, and by very good friend and entrepreneur Peter Diamandis. And the whole mission of X Prize is use the power of collective thinking and collective problem solving, of solving world biggest problems. So all you do, well, let's just use an example, right? You go to Elon Musk, and we already done two uh, global competitions sponsored by Elon, and say, well, Elon, well, let's just take some money, like 15 to $50 million, depending on the X price. And we will award this money to the team who will develop solution for this particular problem. Like the first X prize we've done with Elon it's called Digital Learning X Prize, and it's development of application which you can put on every smartphone or the on iPad. And this will help kids in Africa or people in prison to learn English or to learn Swahili or any other language with zero adult help. So then in the course of a couple of years, a team from 50 plus countries, it's usually 200, 300, 400 teams all around the world compete to win this prize. Wow. And you pay for the result. Well, usually it's not one winner. It's 1, 2, 3 teams, and they all develop very different solution. And this whole app is for free, and it's already tested in Tanzania, in Kenya, and in some of the places in US. And well, the other X Prize that we've done was Carbon Removal X Prize. It's $100 million prize, again, funded by Elon. But we have a lot of great sponsors, not only Elon Musk. And it's basically to take CO2 from the atmosphere and convert it to the minimum viable product. So this whole the economics of CO2 utilization from the atmosphere becoming positive. That's the other thing. So my X Prize, my dream is to do X Prize in age reversal. So it's going to be, again, hundreds of teams all around the world competing to win the prize in the field of age reversal. When we can use different inventions, discoveries, and decrease biological age of the people in the study. So it's all going to be measured by different biomarkers, and if you want, we can discuss today what biological is and what biological clocks are, and hopefully in the course of a few years we'll find the solution to reverse aging processes inside our body. And the importance of that is actually to fight age-related diseases like cancer, heart disease, diabetes, neurodegenerative diseases.
Now, I mean, you mentioned, age reversal, and I think that catches everyone's attention. You've been quoted as saying that we are in the middle of a longevity revolution. What do you mean by that? Yeah.
So, well, think about human biology. And I don't know if you would agree with me. Human biology is probably one of the most complex things that we have on the planet, right? Because and people always ask me, and they probably ask you, Sergey, what is the silver bullet? What are the one thing that I need to do to stay healthier, live longer, happy, alive? And the main takeaway that there's no silver bullet. So, human biology is so complex that Mother Nature hasn't been able to crack it in the process of evolution. And brightest and best human minds in form of scientists also haven't been able to find the cure against aging. So it's very likely going to be really combination of the things. So if you think about this, it's only with the arrival of big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence, we finally has been able to understand the aging. We already know 3,000 genes inside our DNA, which are responsible for aging processes. It's our longevity genes, right? And there's so many problems that we've been able to crack with the arrival of technology and artificial intelligence. That's a very unique moment of time today. And it is about the thing that finally, with help of AI and computer power, we'll be able to crack the longevity code and hopefully reverse aging processes inside our body. But it's so many discoveries on scientific fronts, so many inventions on technological fronts, and it's just intersection of this, what makes this time, these years and this decade special for all of us.
Now, you've mentioned that this revolution essentially it's a 3-horizon framework. In your mind, what are those 3 horizons? How do they play into the revolution?
Yeah, well, this is how I organize this book. And I used to work in McKinsey. McKinsey consulting is all about framework. So it's just simplification of reality, but it's very useful for all of us. Just to understand, where do we put all these pieces of news on longevity, on the healthcare, where it's going to be available for all of us. So I always start with now. What are the things which are available today for us, both in terms of lifestyle changes, the current medicine, or current technology? So we can discuss that. And apparently, I mean, if you can use everything which is, within our reach today, we can add another 10, 20 healthy and happy years to our life on average, right? Just tobacco smoking is just minus 10, 10 years from our life. And there's so many interventions that you can use today, like a diet or fasting or caloric restriction, etc. So that's today. Well, 10 years from now, there's some longevity innovation. And these are all technologies which is already in development, and these are technologies which we support, that we develop, and through Longevity Vision Fund, and many other investors and entrepreneurs and scientists are working on that. And the main three for me is gene editing and gene therapy. Second is our ability to regenerate organs, to even replace organs inside our body in a few decades from now. Similar to what we do while we're extending the resource and lifespan of the old cars by just replacing parts and even engine. And the third one is longevity in the pill. I'm talking about new class of drugs which will be available to us in the next 5, 10, 15 years. And it's just the drugs which will not focus on particular disease, but will focus on aging processes inside our bodies, and therefore will help us to fundamentally prevent or fight all these age-related diseases that we discussed right in the beginning of our conversation.
Now, you've talked frequently about your goal is to either yourself or eventually humans live to be 200 years old. And I know that that's a mind-blowing number. Most people hear that and they're like, what the hell is that? Explain what life would be like at 200 years of age. And the second question is, why would anyone want to live that long?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, well, let's start with yes, but here, right? So depending on the country, and if you ask people if they want to live longer life, not even mentioning 200 years figure, people would say no in 60 to 80% of cases. So that's really the problem. So I've just done a TEDx talk on the ethics of longer living. And the whole takeaway is we've created technologies to extend our lives, but we haven't created lives that we want to extend. And that's the problem. And this is the ethical and regulation, the ethical side and regulation of all of this is actually a much more important problem to solve rather than science and technology. I'm pretty sure in 20 years from now, we'll have all the science, we'll have all the technology to live longer or radically longer. But will we enjoy our lives, or will we have regulation which will, help us to use the benefits of genetic editing and gene therapy without actually, being fearful of the potential implication on society or on increasing the inequality gap? This is all very important. So that's a big caveat in terms of the ethics of longevity, and I do think it's important in the longer term. So that's one thing. Well, second thing, I'm not sure if I'm going to be living to 200 years, right? Because the pace of change is obviously pretty fast, but I'm not sure if I will catch this wave. But nevertheless, I do think it's important to realize that there's something that we have today in this world, which fundamentally change our ability and our access to different longevity technologies. And soon, in a few decades from now, we'll be able to break the sound barrier of 122 years. And this is 122 years is the maximum lifespan that we've seen in the world on record. And we just need to deal with that somehow. And always 200 years figure is just as communication tool for me to catch the attention, because every time I start, guys, you need to eat healthy, you need to do physical exercise, you need to do your annual screening. They were like, well, Sergey, my mom told me that. This is boring. So first you need to catch the attention with, well, let's live to 200 years. So people start to disagree with that. And why is that? And we talk about different horizons, like near horizon, which will be available in 10, 20 years, or far horizons. And this is horizon when the man and machine will become one. We're gonna be integrated with computer power. We can use nanorobots, Internet of Bodies, similar to Internet of Things. And well, here we are. We have a discussion, and then people think about, okay, if I want to, some people would say, yeah, I'd like to use these technologies in the future. And then my takeaways, we need to stay on longevity bridge. We need to preserve our body and our mind, our physical and mental health in a state then when in 20 years time, hopefully this technology will be available, our body and mind is worth extending its resource. It's not like super old or sick.
Now, we just had a very interesting comment here talking about that, you know, as the world changes, climate change, all this other stuff, how integrated is your plan with preserving the earth? I mean, if we're going to be extending lives, but we have a planet that no one wants to live on, I guess what's it worth?
Yeah, absolutely. And this, if you look at morality of immortality thing, and this is like a last chapter in the book called Morality of Immortality. It's dedicated exactly to these questions. And one of these questions is our relationship with Mother Nature. So right now I'm 49, okay? And let's assume, or I can assume, the average lifespan is going to be somewhere around 75, 80 years. So I have just another couple of decades to live on this planet. So some people think, okay, so just another 20 years from me, I'll survive, and the rest, like the plastic in the ocean, relationship with Mother Nature, global warming, is not going to be for me. It's for other generations to decide. I actually do believe when we will live longer or radically longer, this will drive more responsibility in our behavior, because we will face the consequences of our own actions. And again, what I'm saying, before prolonging life by so many decades, we need to sort out a lot of problems like inequality gap, relationship with Mother Nature, or just the other thing is, it's like all these binary social constructs that we have in this world, which is long life career, marriage, binary full-time job, full-time retirement. They've been developed for the world where the average lifespan was 35 years. We are living much longer than that. We need more diversity, more complexity, and choice in how we organize our lives. You know, like, can I have as many careers as decades in my life? Or, yeah, like if I'd like to be a responsible father, can we have some sort of arrangement then, like kids raising partnership, when mother and father, even if they would like to discontinue their marriage, they still kind of hold responsible for the development, growth, and support of their kids. So that's in today's, and then this whole kind of job, full-time job, full-time retirement thing is also outdated. Like if you listen to Dan Buettner, the author of the Blue Zones book, he says that two most dangerous years of your life is the year of your birth, because we still have pretty high infant mortality in comparison to other periods of our life, and the year of your retirement, because people lose sense of purpose, opportunity to integrate to community, family, society, by losing their job. So, world is not black and white. So we just need to recognize that and change it as well.
Now let's talk a little bit about the economics, because it's very complex.
Yeah.
We currently have trouble getting adequate healthcare to just the general population.
Yeah.
But you're talking about offering life extension technologies and medicine to 1 billion people.
Yeah.
Talk about the finances of that. How is that even possible?
So, well, first of all, first thing that I need to mention that different countries has very different economics and efficiency of their healthcare systems. Like Singapore spends 5% of their GDP on healthcare, and the average lifespan there, and health span as well, is #2 in the world, right after Japan. Or UK, Great Britain. So they spend 8% of their GDP, and the lifespan there is higher than in the US. US, we have a problem here. So 18% of GDP is spent on healthcare, and pre-COVID, in the last 5 years pre-COVID, in 3 years out of 5, we had lifespan decreasing by very marginal numbers, 0.2 years per year. But we were like the only developed nation in the world who actually seen lifespan decreasing to the overall population. So how are we going to change that? Well, number one, it's just recognizing that, right? Just understanding the problem is the first step. Well, the second piece, if you bring technology and data into healthcare, you're switching from reactive mode to preventive mode. And this is one of the comments we have from Amy Lamode in the chat. So if you switch to prevention is usually 10 to 20 times cheaper than serving and helping someone in emergency room. So that's the economics of that. So if we will be able to rely on technology, recognize the role of wearables, our personalized healthcare devices, different data-driven applications, well, that's the opportunity for us to decrease the cost of healthcare by 10, 20 times. So that's in a very conceptual terms how we need to sort it out. Well, the question is like where this change will come from. And I do believe the change will come from technology world, like entrepreneurs or big tech. I'm not the biggest fan of like Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, but they might be the biggest healthcare companies on earth because they're working on AI and big data and applications and even on hardware to create the new, much more preventive and precise and personalized version of medicine.
Now let's move on to your book, which, just like I said, it's only been out about a month, but it's already a bestseller, which is amazing. And obviously, kudos to all your work. Tell us a little bit about the impetus for writing this book, right? So you've been in this field, you've been investing. This is obviously a passion of yours. What was the impetus to write this book finally?
So we at Longevity Vision Fund, we're looking at 200 companies a year. So that means that we spend hours in the labs. We spend hours and days with entrepreneurs from the forefront, from longevity, of the field of longevity technologies and longevity science. And I wanted to share that because if you go to the bookstore today, like options that you have it's either like very scientific book, write it on this topic, and then it's just very difficult for me. So I'm not MD, right? And I'm not a biologist, and I probably should be. And so like for the average person, not from this field, it's really difficult to read. Or it's more kind of lifestyle book. Well, like gluten is bad, or this thing is bad. You need to put butter in your coffee, and this is great. And that's like, and what is in between. So all I wanted to do is just to give people an overview of what is coming on the horizon, actually on the horizons, like what we should expect in the next 10, 20 years. What are the signs of longevity revolution that we can watch around us today? So just to get excited about living longer, healthier and happier version of our life. And then again, two most important chapters for me is the last one. One is morality of immortality, which is the ethical side of longer living. There's so many questions to decide for all of us collectively. Sergey Young cannot solve it on behalf of the whole planet. It should be like the outcome of collective effort and wisdom. And the second most important for me is the bonus chapter, which is twice as long as any other chapter. And it's called Who Wants to Live Forever. And it is about 10 longevity choices that all of us can make today. Like what are the things that we could and we should do today to stay on longevity bridge and just really increase the quality of our life in addition to quantity in form of years.
And you talk about 7 hacks, which I think is pretty cool. You talk about 7 longevity hacks. And since we have 7 minutes left, we'll just go over each of these because I think it's important for our listeners to listen in. So number 1, no smoking and restrict alcohol. That seems pretty basic, right?
Yeah.
Smoking, obviously, you can't smoke at all. And alcohol, tell us what like a reasonable alcoholic consumption would be.
So
something
reasonable,
that's not gonna...
So I've seen a lot of research on this site. There's not, unless you go to extreme, when you have real excess of alcohol consumption, 1 or 2 glasses of wine per evening is fine. You should not do this every day. So my rule, it's either Friday or Saturday when you can have so I call it 1 or 2 glasses per occasion, not per evening, because otherwise some people think, whoo, Sergey told me I can have red wine every evening. It's bad. Like after you turn 40, your all the processes inside your body couldn't really process the alcohol like every evening and should not.
And then you say slash sugar consumption. Is it just sugar, or are we talking about just carbohydrates in general? What exactly should we be cutting
Yeah,
out of our
slow
diets?
carbs are fine, but like fast carbs and this unfortunate reality, like corn syrup, any other form of sugar or fructose that we have in our food um, is pretty bad for our health and longevity. Like I've seen the article last week, and it says 70 to 80% of the food in supermarkets in the U.S. has added sugar. And this is bad. Our body was never designed to process this amount of sugar on like everyday basis. I'm actually start to experiment, with myself. I just put the continuous glucose monitor here, and it lasts for 14 days just to see the different, how different food actually influence the level of glucose inside my blood. So like, take out sugar drinks, stick to the water and make sure that you kind of stay away from the processed food, because processed food usually have a lot of sugar added into that. Cooking at home or relying on the power of plants is like the best thing that you can do for your health.
Now, the other thing that you mentioned is a little bit controversial. It's become very mainstream recently. Intermittent fasting. People say that you finish your dinner 7, 8 o'clock. You don't eat until the next day at noon. Basically,
Yeah.
skip breakfast. Talk about the benefits of intermittent fasting, other than just lowering calories and weight loss.
Yeah. So, well, just a lot of it's a lot of disagreement in academic world, like what actually extends our lifespan. But there's one agreement that decreasing the calorie intake for you, like on an everyday basis, is actually it adds another 3, 4, 5 years to your life. So how you do that? Like for me, I'm doing this through fasting, and it's not for everyone. You can find your own kind of fasting regime. Like when we sleep, the period between our dinner and breakfast is also fasting. That's why breakfast called breakfast. But I do believe that the longer you fast, and if your body kind of likes that, it's just better the impact on our body and our physical and mental health. So that's why I'm fasting 36 hours every week. But again, you don't need to be that radical. Just experiment with shortening the window of your food consumption within the day to like 8 hours or 6 hours. So you can then combine like a lunch and dinner, or like breakfast and lunch. And for the rest, we'll try to fast a little bit and see how your body responds to that. Like my best days after, I finish fasting, I usually do it like on Wednesday morning. This is the end of my 36 hours interval. And people always compliment like, well, Sergey, you look so bright and shiny and full of energy. And this is, that's the outcome of that. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And you talk about plant-based diet. Tell us, in general, what is the appropriate diet? What's the percentage that you should be having of, let's say, carbs, protein, fat, organic foods?
Yeah. So my suggestion, just to like, I'll give you like a short version of advice, but obviously you can work with nutritionist or download the app, which will help you to do it. Like the overall thing in the mother nature, like every radical choice, every extreme is bad. So I'm choosing something in between. So I like vegetables, but I'm not vegetarian. So, for me, like the main body of my diet are vegetables, because not fruits, because they have a lot of like fructose. They're just another form of sugar. And what I like about vegetables, and I call it the rainbow of vegetables, right? I'm trying to combine different colors of vegetables, because different color responsible for like different nutritional element. I do think healthy fats and healthy proteins are a really important part of the diet as well. But it's not only about the quantity of it, but also about the quality, because the industrial meat and fish that we have right now have so many growth hormones, antibiotics, E. coli bacteria. So I'm always trying to find like the organic version of that. And then people sometimes tell me like the healthy diet is more expensive than non-healthy one. I've seen a study, like the family who run mostly on a plant-based diet, obviously cooking at home, save like $950 per household per year. So vegetables are cheap. Like go to supermarket, and it's not a lot of harm you can do with vegetables for your for your body and your mind. So the answer is much more complex, but that's roughly where you need to look at, as plant-based as possible.
Now, the next one, which seems obvious, it's easy to do, but no one does it. Drink more water. Explain that.
Yeah. Well, for me, actually, water it serves two things. So one is actually it takes out like a sugar drink component from your diet, and at home or in the office, we have like zero tolerance to sugar drinks. So when my kids write the letter to Santa in December, they always ask for real pasta, not gluten-free, and for some sugar drinks as well. And they're allowed to go to fast food, but it's like once every year in July. It's just one meal that we actually go there. And as well, again, so it's just taking out the sugar and sugar drinks from your diet. And I do believe the water represents like the best alternative there. And so that's one thing. And well, the other thing is actually, again, remember this whole notion of caloric restriction. So eating less food. So if you drink more water, automatically you're going to be eating less food. You will not feel hungry. So that's why, I'm always with the water.
And then the last two ones, exercise more, makes sense.
Yep.
And then sleep more. In your opinion, how important is sleep? Because we're really understanding the biology of sleep much more, because we've learned so much based on the research. How important is sleep to overall longevity and health?
Yeah, I'm actually I'm like big fan of sleep, and I do remember the quote from one of the friends in London. He's the founder of Longevity Clinic there. He always says, well, Sergey, every night we can visit the most powerful clinic in the world. We go to bed and we sleep. And that's like, the best way of putting it. I think sleep is extremely important for our hormonal balance, for, just a lot of different things that we need to fix in our body. And therefore, my rule is 8 hours in the bed, which is 7 hours of sleep. And I'm always tracking sleep. So I'm using Oura Ring, my Whoop to track my sleep cycle, and just having this, feedback loop, how, what was my deep sleep this night, give me important intake into trying to kind of fix and improve my sleeping habits. So that's like super important.
Yeah. And so I know we're over time. I'm going to ask you one last question. What are the top 3 technological breakthroughs that you see happening in the next 30, 40 years that are really going to extend lifespan?
So gene editing and gene therapy. We're actually participating in a global experiment in gene therapy today, because Moderna and some other COVID vaccines are the outcome of gene therapy. So that's one. Second is organ regeneration, our ability to replace or 3D print and use it. And third one is this whole human augmentation, just our integration with computing power or any form of bionic augmentation as well. So I do believe that in 30, 40 years from now, we're going to be seeing completely different version of humans.
It sounds like there's just amazing change on the way. Listen, Sergey, thank you for your time. I know how busy you are. Amazing interview. It's really inspirational to see how you have dedicated your life towards improving overall human life. For those of you who haven't bought the book, The Science and Technology of Growing Young, amazing book, buy it. Sergey, thanks again for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Stay healthy and happy.
Absolutely. You
Bye-bye.
too.
Cheers.
Be well.
Thank you, guys.